they never push themselves beyond what they can handle, right? You're used to greens or blues, and you find yourself on a double black, and what happens? Everything inside you freaks out because you're past what I call the threshold of control, your comfort zone. And you look down, you go, I could die doing this. So now you have two choices. Either most people slam themselves on the ground, hang on for dear life, and try not to skid off the cliff, and at best what you do is survive. Or a few people let go of their fear, no matter how scary it is, and goes, I gotta go down this thing, and there's no other choice, and they focus on where they wanna go instead of what they're afraid of. And so that's what happens in business. So for me, I can remember going and starting my first business in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I got on a radio show, and this person, it was a shock jock radio show, and I didn't know it, and they started attacking me and saying I'm a liar and a charlatan, you can't do these things. And this therapist called me up and said, you know what, I've dealt with people forever. You can't wipe out a phobia in less than an hour. It can take 7 years. I have a patient right now I've worked with for 7 years and I've been able to solve this. And I said, great, bring that patient tonight. I'm doing a free guest event at the Holiday Inn, and I'll take care of that. It should take me 10 or 15 minutes. And I was able to do it. I wrapped a snake around this woman. She had a snake phobia. A phobia is an uncontrollable response. So because of that, I had people coming to these guest events like crazy, and I thought I hit the home run, right? And I did this big guest event. There was like 1,000 people there, which for me would be like, I don't know, 100,000 people in an event right now. And after I was done, a bunch of people signed up for my seminar because I did a free value-add event, and then I would invite them to come spend 3 days with me. And this man walks up to me, and he's from immigration. He goes, a great seminar. He goes, I'd like to see your work permit. And I said, what's a work permit, right? You know, when you're in beginning business, you don't know these things, right? He goes, well, to work in this country, you need a work permit. And he said, I'll tell you what, I got to see you tomorrow at 5:30. I goes, well, my seminar starts at 7. He goes, you'll be fine, just you got to be there at 5:30. He said, I'm not asking, it's a requirement. So I show up at 5:30. I wait for half an hour. Now I'm starting to stress. And finally I sit down with a guy and he says, you're taking away Canadian job. And he said, no, you teach NLP skills, neuro-linguistic programming, and these people have classes of 20 people and you got a class of 500. And so they say you're taking jobs, so your event is over. So what do you mean your event's over? He goes, if you walk on that stage tonight, we will handcuff you and deport you. He says, you're going to have to give the money back. I said, I can't give the money back. I spent all the money to put on the seminar. I wasn't a good businessman. I just wanted to help everybody, right? And he goes, you have no money? Well, you're going to have to deal with that. So I walked out of the building. I have 40 minutes. People are going to arrive. I can't go on stage. What do you do? I told my 3 staff members, 2 of which were volunteers, what happened. They're like, and I said, here's what we're doing. I'm doing this seminar. And he said, you're going to go to jail. I said, I'm not going to jail. I said, how close is the border? True story. And they said, well, there's a place called Bellingham, Washington. It's about an hour and 40 minutes. I said, rent me 6 buses and I'll meet the people up front before they go in the hotel, so it's not a problem. I met everybody up front. They said, this is a traveling seminar. It's a surprise, right?
We're going to Bellingham.
We're going to America. And it was a 3-day seminar. We had to go and come back each day and night for 3 days in a row. I got all but 4 people to agree to do it. And then I got to Bellingham, Washington at the Holiday Inn there, and there was like a bar mitzvah or a wedding or some stuff next door, and it was so loud you couldn't hear anybody. And so I said, just lie on the floor, close your eyes, I'm gonna hypnotize you into this shit, right? You know? But so what happened was you learn how to get through that, right? And we learn how to be resourceful. When you realize that your problem is not a lack of resources, it's not a lack of money or technology or contacts, it's not. It's your psychology. Because the ultimate resource is resourcefulness and human emotion. That's what starts wars. That's what makes a business begin. That's how you have children. That's how we end wars. It's all emotion. And so what I really learned to do is how to manage my emotions. So, you know, once you solve that one, the next one shows up. I had somebody, I started a franchise, and a couple franchisees were really upset when one of the people representing on my side said they didn't make things clear to them. And, you know, it's all bullshit, but it cost me $5 million in 4 years. I thought, the first one was like a $50,000 challenge. Now I got a $5 million challenge. And I took all the money I'd saved in my entire career to pay that off, and I was starting over again. And then I grew from that. And then I finally got, you know, I had a partner in business, and long story short, they had a business that was losing $1 million a day, and he turned it around and making $1.8 billion in EBITDA. He offered me his partner, and I signed a document saying we're all joint and several. There was $40 million in debt. I figured I had $10 million of the debt to have $1.8 billion in infrastructure. And it turned out my partners, 2 of them were broke. They weren't billionaires. They had lost their money. And the other one was the son of a billionaire, and his dad had given him nothing, had $5 million to his name. So I was on the hook shortly after for $120 million when they didn't have $120 million. I figured out how to deal with that. By doing that, I eventually took my companies to this year will surpass $6 billion in 33 companies because I made it through the threshold of control. So I want you to know, when you see these big numbers by any entrepreneur, they all started with blocking and tackling, and they all started with how do I get both the skill and more importantly the psychology. You can get the skill if you can get that part of you that just doesn't die, the part of you that finds the way to add more value than anybody else so you can keep growing.
Where does the perseverance come from for you? Where does the indomitable spirit come from? Here, the title of your book, Unshakable.
Yeah.
Where does the drive come from? You did not grow up in easy circumstances.
No.
At all.
No.
No college.
No.
At all.
No. All self-educated.
Self-educated, a household that was not easy.
True.
Is that part of the reason that you are as perseverant as you are, as optimistic as you are, as forceful as you are?
That didn't create my optimism.
No, it didn't create your optimism. But maybe it was a way to
I think it developed moxie. My mother was a really good woman. I didn't talk about it when she was alive, and I frankly, even if she passed, I didn't talk about it until one day I was sitting in front of a group of 30 kids that were abused by their parents. And I told them that, your biography is not your destiny and you're not defined by what happened. But I could see in their eyes, a big, tall, white, rich guy, he doesn't understand. And so I told them the whole story. My mom beating me against the wall till my head bled, pouring liquid soap down my throat till I threw up. So I think in order to protect my younger brother and sister, I had to become a practical psychologist. That drove me, and I developed moxie to be able to deal with stuff. So that was the gift. If my mom had been the mother I wanted to be, I wouldn't be the man I'm proud to be, I think. So that was the gift in it. But I think the drive part is falling in love with your customers. I love people. I've always loved people. And I hate suffering because I've suffered. And I love to light people up, and not just light them up, pump them up. I love to have them have a skill, have them a tool, have a system. When I do my boot camps each year for our business mastery programs, I guarantee everybody there on the day one, you'll have $1 million of value in your opinion, or we'll give you, keep all the stuff you got and we'll give you your money back. No one ever leaves because I know how to add that value in the business for those people. So I think the drive is the biggest mistake I think businesses make is many businesses are started by people that you built the product you love. And that may still be true for you. Like you built this great jewelry, or you built this great software, or whatever skill set you have. But the problem is the world changes so fast now. I mean, I'm old enough. Who remembers the Sony Walkman? Anybody ancient enough to remember that shit? That product lasted 20 years. Now a product like that won't even last a year, right? The competition is too high. So today, if you and I are going to really succeed, you got to fall in love with your ideal customer. Because look, I'm sure you know that right now the economy we have is looking pretty good, but it's going to correct because we've done nothing since 2008 except print more money. And we didn't even print money. We put ones and zeros in computers. So there's going to be some corrections, and when those happens, it's going to shake people up. You need to fall in love with a client who's going to do well with you even when the economy goes to hell. Think about it. Starbucks, I was sitting across from Howard Schultz and had a great conversation and said, what is he most proud of? And he said, he used to say starting Starbucks. Then he said, now it's surviving 2008. If they closed, I think it was 1,300 stores, if I remember correctly, for $2 coffee. So you need to get your ass ready for winter because it's coming. And if you have got challenges now, but if you do well in winter, you'll dominate for the rest of the time. And the way you do well in winter is you fall in love with your ideal clients, and then you come up with the irresistible offer for them. Steve Jobs created 99-cent songs, but he didn't create that shit. We all know that. Where'd it come from? Who's old enough to remember Columbia House, where you got like 10 albums for $1? Remember that? Or for a quarter and stuff. They built $1 billion company. Tom's Shoes, shitty product. I love him. Great what he does, but 2 for 1, being able to do something where I get it and I benefit somebody else, brilliant idea. Built the whole company on that. He didn't build it on the product. He built it on the mission, right? So you need an irresistible offer for the client who is ideal for you, and you want to fall in love with a client. Don't fall in love with your product or service because those need to change. And if you fall in love with your product or service, somebody's going to beat you. They're going to be anticipating. I always tell businesses, there's 2 businesses you have to manage right now. You have to run the business you're in, because if you don't run that, your cash flow, your challenges are going to bite you. But you also have to run the business you're becoming. And both businesses you have to be making progress on. If you get all excited about the future and all the cool stuff that's coming, and you go work on that, and there's no cash flow now, you're dead in the water. If you just work on today, you're going to wake up and go, what the hell happened? My competition beat me. It's those two sides. And my 33 companies, I look at what the company is now and what it has to be constantly. So we're doing the grunt work, if you will, the important day-to-day work, while we're anticipating the future.